I've got no doubt that Leon's going to be definitely one of the fastest out there as they work their way around. We just wait to see how this one's going to play itself out. Bathurst, going to be an amazing one. There's no doubt about it as Leon van Wyk works his way into the tighter section of the Bathurst circuit. We'll see if we can have a chat with one or two of the guys as they work their way around the island. Let's just get a track map up there. We can see exactly who is where. Michael Stephen goes to the front end of the field. Look at that. Michael Stephen on a 151. That is brilliant stuff. Graham Stephen directly in there behind him is the second fastest man. Then we've got Willem Botha is the third fastest man out there. And Willem is going to be one of the top contenders as he works his way through yet another flying lap. Let's maybe see if we can, while we're on Willem Botha, maybe when he gets out into the straight, we can check if we can have a quick chat with the likes of Willem Botha. Willem Botha, good evening to you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you 100%.
Fantastic. You got yourself third there on the grid, just a tenth off the likes of Michael and Graham Stephen. Is there still a bit in the tank that you can get it a bit closer to the front end?
Yeah, there's a little bit, but yes, trying to push and keep the limits without contact is a bit of a story.
Oh, brilliant stuff. The next man that we see there, Leon van Wyk, just goes ahead of Willem Botha. Leon, as we said, any more in the tank? Can you break into what Graham and Michael are doing?
Yes. I don't know about Michael. Not sure how I'm going to give it a go.
Haha, there we go, folks. That is just a word from the guys that are right up front there and giving it stick. We see Peter van der Spey is doing a pretty decent job as well. Peter van der Spey is in the tight section, so we're not going to talk to Peter van der Spey right now. Peter van der Spey is the highest qualifier so far in the Otopi division, what's called the Grand Masters. And we'll have a shofty to see once he gets out into the straight. There he gets out into the straight now, so I think we can take a chance and have a chat with him. Peter van der Spey, good evening to you, leading Grandmasters out there as you work your way through the gearbox. It's looking pretty good so far. Good evening to you.
I'm hanging in here, a little thread here. Just trying to avoid trouble here. Stand on.
Great stuff. We will go away from that. We don't want to talk to the drivers while they are in the tighter sections of the circuit. That was Peter van der Spey that had a quick chat with us there. There you see there is Timothy Stanton as well. And Timothy Stanton doing a lovely job to get himself up into that 6th position is Timothy Stanton. So looking pretty good at this stage of the fight. Just about 8 minutes into the 12 minutes overall that they have been out there, and Willem Botha being dropped down onto that second row of the grid alongside Leon van Wyk. Herman Lazarus looking pretty decent right now. There's Herman Lazarus as he goes out into the straight. Herman Lazarus, good evening to you. Going well, Squire? Herman, good evening to you. Are you well? Okay, looks like we've got a problem. Yeah, it looks like he's got a bit of a problem with his microphone as Herman Lazarus. Oh, I think we've broken his concentration a little bit there for Herman Lazarus. So, yeah, we will chat with the guys where we can as it goes. So, the top end of the field is Graham Stephen from Michael Stephen, front row of the grid, the Stevens brothers. Then we've got Leon van Wyk. We have Willem Botha alongside him at this stage of the fight as Willem works his way down into the straightaway. Willem, this lap so far looks like you're in with a chance of breaking up onto the front row of the grid.
No, I don't think it's impossible now.
Well, there we go.
Through the mountain there, just a bit of understeer, so yeah, impossible.
So there we go, the sounds of Willem Botha. He did lose a little bit through the mountain. Not going to be enough time probably for him to put in an additional lap. You might find he's actually going to take a chance and try and go for that. Graham Stephen has gone into the pits. Carl Lawrence up into that 7th position. A very good drive so far by Carl Lawrence. Oopsie, just a little bit too hard. Hermans Lazarus down into that 8th position. Johan Engelbrecht is right in there as well. Sandro Bakari is right in there, doing the best he can. He's in fact ahead of the new man, Michael North. Welcome to Michael North. It's nice of him to join with us. Have a new face, a new personality, a new driver that joins is always fantastic. So we're in the HPD ARX _01C. What an amazing sounding, looking, handling, driving motor car as a whole. And well, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to come out tops with this type of motor car, because it's not a very easy car to drive as such, this type of motor car. Keeping an eye there on Michael North as he works his way through. Running out of time, kind of course. There's less than a minute to go. Well, he's got the hammer down pretty big. He's a Class D entrant. He's a newbie. And then we also have Sergio Mafia. And he has not managed to get a clean lap in so far. So it's now or never for Sergio to see what he can do and break the problem that he's got up until now in his, that he's not been able to get into a clean lap. Here he comes through now. He's going to go across the line. Will he have got himself a clean lap? No, he's gone over the track limit somewhere. And with just 12 more seconds to go, Sergio trying his best. But this is a new man that's just come into the sport. See, Leonardo Bakari is putting in another lap. And that's where it all comes to an end. And from here on out, it's just a case of where is everybody going to be starting. Let's have a look to see how that grid's going to play itself out. Michael Stephen from Graham Stephen, Leon van Wyk from Willem Botha, Timothy Stanton from Peter van der Spey, Johan Engelbrecht from Carl Lawrence, Herman Lazarus from Sandro Bakari, Michael North from Stephen McCarthy, and that is how they're going to be standing out there on the grid. So the fastest man has in fact done an amazing lap time. I tell you what, Michael and Graham Stephen. A very, very quick lap there by Michael Stephen. Let's have a quick chat while they're on the grid to the likes of Peter van der Spey, the leading grandmaster out there. Peter, second round for season number 12. You find yourself 6th overall in the grid. Your biggest competition, Sandro Bakari, down in 10th position. Was it a seriously hot lap for you, or can you keep that kind of pace all the way through?
Well, I think that's going to be my consistent lap time. I slipped on a couple of corners there, and probably could have got sub 52, but this is going to be a case of getting through the mountain here, the first lap. That's going to be our biggest danger. Just trying to get through lap one is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, definitely getting through the mountain first time around is not going to be easy at all. Stephen McCarthy, good evening to you. Can you hear us?
Hi Gary, yeah, I can hear you.
Stephen, coming off a 12th position, I take it what Peter just said is the biggest worry for you, getting through the mountain for the first time with so many cars in front of you.
Yeah, my plan is to hang back and try and avoid the carnage.
Having said that, being a racing driver of note, you know the right thing to do is to hang back. Do you think you're actually going to get it right?
Well, let's see.
Right, folks, here we go, and off the line we come, and this is where the easier part is that is straight away Herman Lazarus involved in that one. Oh, we've got about 7 cars that have been involved in that massive incident that went down there. It's Michael Stephen that's going to be leading them out. Oh, there's still cars flying in the background. Graham Stephen from Leon van Wyk. Then it is Willem Botha. Willem Botha's got that 2-car duo of Leon and Graham in front of him. Then we got Timothy Stanton. Stanton from Leonardo Bakari. Is Leonardo Bakari. He's got a little bit of space in front of him. He's got his brother Sandro directly in there behind him. Our new man, Michael North, managed to get through that pretty decently. Herman Lazarus that got taken out. Oh! Right up against the wall is Herman Lazarus. I saw that happen to him earlier on as well. Herman Lazarus doing the best that he can to try and get through the mountain as quickly as he possibly can and get out on the other side as they work their way through the tighter sections. We keep an eye on Herman Lazarus underneath the Coates Hire Bridge. And then behind him is Stephen McCarthy, Peter van der Spey. Oh, going out there. I think there was Carl Lawrence. Yep, that's Carl Lawrence that's gone and binned it, and he has binned it big time. But already, let's just get a track map up. Let's have a look, see where the guys are. Yep, the leaders are making their way along that blindingly fast straight. Michael Stephen from Graham Stephen, from Leon van Wyk. Willem Botha is right in there as well. Then it's Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton's done a brilliant job so far. He holds himself there in the top 5. Let's go on board with Timothy Stanton. That's what it looks like inside the cockpit of the Roland Manifolds racing car of a Timothy Stanton. You can see they just about going there past the start-finish line. Now it'll be that 90-degree left-hand corner so far for Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton holding sway there in 5th position. The pace looking pretty quick up front. I don't think Timothy can hear us. He's so busy in that cockpit. That long, high-speed right-hander, making sure that you don't get yourself involved in touching on that curbstone. But look at that front in front of him. Going wide and swapping positions as Willem Botha and Graham Stephen. So Willem Botha is on the move. Willem Botha has got himself up into that 3rd position already. There was a brilliant piece of driving there by Willem Botha. Now through the downhill, tight left-hander. Underneath the Coates Hire Bridge, the right-hander drops down, uses much of the curbstone. The 2 tightest corners of that whole complex, in fact, make that 3 the tightest corners as they work their way out into the front main. And right now they get themselves into a straight line. Willem Botha up to 3rd position, pace pretty hot up front.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of concentration, very hard. Small mistakes touching the wall here and there. So yeah, the car's getting better, so we'll see.
Alright, that's the sounds of Willem Botha as he's holding on to that 3rd position, and Graham Stevens trying to have a look up there as well. Graham Stevens and him actually make contact and turns it right around. That's a pity for Willem Botha. As he said, very tricky. Actually made a bit of contact up against the wall. And Johan Engelbrecht is on his way out of the pits. Sergio Mafia is in fact in the pits at the moment. And Johan Engelbrecht's on his way out. So he'll be a little bit behind the rest of the guys. So let's have a look at the front end of the field. It's all about Michael Stephen and Leon van Wyk. The 2 of them are side by side. Leon van Wyk is going to have to be happy with that 2nd position as they go into the mountain. There is Leon van Wyk, Graham Stephen in there just behind them. Let's see what that looks like as they go through that whole complex of corners. Bathurst, oh, extreme is Bathurst. Underneath the Wichitsu air conditioning bridge, up that blind rise, blind entrance to that corner. A difficult apex as you can't really see it. All of a sudden it all comes into view as you come over the top of the hill. The Coates Hire, now you know it's a hard left, it's a hard right, it's going down the gearbox. It's a very sharp left, a very sharp right, a slightly bigger left-hander, another very sharp right-hander, dropping down with the elevation, very long left-hander. Graham Stephen works his way out through the gearbox, and not that far behind him, there is the man behind him, and that is Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton doing a lovely job to try and hold in there. Timothy Stanton, yeah, you'll see them as they come down. Oh, lots of people that's standing down that side of the circuit. So everything's kind of spread out at this stage of the fight. Sergio Mafia has had an incident. Let's have a look at that incident of Willem Botha. I see he has had an incident now recently as well. As he said, it's very tight through the mouth. Oh, all by himself, he whacked the wall, did Willem Botha. Oh, that's going to cost him big time. That's the second problem that's happened there for him. So, Michael Stephen leads out. And it must be lovely when you look out of the front window of your motor car and there's nothing in front of you. You've got lots and lots of space. And if you look at that, it's 28 seconds before he'll get to the back end of a Sergio Mafia. So all he's got to do is keep it nice and smooth, using the rev range, third gear, fourth gear, building up as much as he can. Now he's going to have to just hold on to that accelerator, try and stay in fifth gear for as long as he can. Carries it through sixth gear, carries massive speed. Now he's going to have to go down through the box, down to fourth, right down to second gear. Oh, that was almost up against the wall. Michael Stephen is pushing exceptionally hard. He's 3.24 seconds ahead of Leon van Wyk. That was very close to him not that long ago. As he comes out into the front main is Michael Stephen. Fourth gear, fifth gear, up into sixth gear. The revs just keep on climbing. 9,500 RPM, that is up into sixth gear. 9,700, 9,800. Make sure you don't clip the curbstone. Carry as much speed into the blind rise over the apex of the corner. Use that curbstone underneath the Emerald Bridge. There's the entrance to the pits on your left hand side, a 90-degree left-hander, making sure he doesn't pick up any oversteer on that one. But let's go on board with I think it's Michael North that finds himself pretty close in there behind Leonardo Bakari. So our new kid on the block, Michael North, and behind Leonardo Bakari, who's in behind Sandro Bakari. Let's see who has been in and out of the pit so far. Amongst that is, in fact, Peter van der Spy. So Willem Botha, with those two incidents, one being touched, one touching the wall by himself, has gone in and out of the pits, and he's the leader of the cars that is in and out of the pits from Peter van der Spy. So Peter van der Spy is only 1.3 seconds behind Willem Botha. That's Willem Botha in front of Peter van der Spy as we ride on board with Peter van der Spy. Both of them have in fact just passed Sergio Mafia as he goes into the front straight. Peter van der Spy is running some very good pace. Let's go on board with Herman Lazarus. Herman Lazarus is in the mountain behind Michael North, and in front of that is Leonardo Bakari. None of these three have in fact been into the pits at all. Let's have a look at the last lap times that they did. Herman Lazarus, a 1:54.4, so he took 0.3 of a second out of Michael North, and at the same time Michael North took the better part of 0.3 of a second out of Leonardo Bakari. But now once you get into this complex, very, very difficult to be able to make any reasonable headway and pass anybody in this section of the circuit. And this is what the guys were worried about, the fact that Bathurst, for a serious portion of the circuit, that mountain section, if you get stuck behind somebody that's slower, it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to make any kind of headways. We ride on board with Herman Lazarus in there behind Michael North, a 1:51.874 that's just been put up there by Michael Stephen over the blind rise. Oh, that was very, very marginal. Herman Lazarus pushing it very hard. Let's go on board with the man that's directly in front of him. That is Michael North. Michael North on the back end there of Leonardo Bakari, who's lying second overall in the Grand Masters. As they work their way down the front main across the start-finish line. Oh, he's using a whole bunch of revs there. I think he fancies maybe trying to be able to get a run. Let's have a look. That's what it looks like from the second gear Productions blimp, as Herman Lazarus is going to have a look on the outside to see if he can make a move there on the North. North actually has to back out of the gas as Herman Lazarus is trying to make just a little bit of space for himself. So Herman Lazarus now going in search of Leonardo Bakari, and they just entering the mountain section. You can see how that one is closing up. Herman Lazarus all over the back end of Leonardo Bakari. It's getting closer and closer. He's not been held up. Or he is actually being held up by now already. Herman Lazarus closed up on the back end of Leonardo Bakari very, very quickly. Still going to have to sit tight for just a little. Oh, car in front of them. That was Sandro Bakari from Leonardo. Michael North, the car that they've just passed. Got the blip going there. Out into the straight they go. Now, will Herman Lazarus have enough to get past Leonardo Bakari? Leonardo puts it smack dead center in the middle of the track. Herman Lazarus goes towards the right hand side because the next corner is in fact a right hander, and he's going to hold on to that one as best as he possibly can through the right hander. Now you can see the cars that's in there behind him. The blue one is in fact Herman Lazarus. Leonardo Bakari directly behind him. Then a big gap back there to Michael North. And then behind that is in fact the Sujin Properties car of Stephen McCarthy. Having said all that, let's go back to the front end of the field. Michael Stephen, that man that started on the front row of the grid. He's got a 50-second gap between himself and the man in front of him, Peter van der Spey, who has already been into the pits. He himself has not been in, so obviously that's going to change at a later point. And Michael Stephen has taken the better part of 3.9 seconds out of that man, Leon van Wyk. Leon van Wyk has been able to split the Stevens brothers. Graham Stephen, the man that's directly behind him, there he is. That is Graham Stephen. Not far behind that at all is in fact Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton's right there, so that is your leading group. Timothy Stanton doing a lovely job at this stage of the fight, and Leon van Wyk I think will be pretty chuffed with what he's managed to pull off so far. Leon van Wyk in that second position, the being IT entry. Then in there behind him is Graham Stephen. There comes Timothy Stanton. Then there's a big gap back to Sandro Bakari. Sandro Bakari finds himself ahead of Leonardo and Peter van der Spey. But remember that Peter van der Spey has already been in and out of the pits. Fastest lap for Michael Stephen. Here comes Herman Lazarus. There comes Leonardo Bakari. Michael North directly in behind that. And that ahead of Stephen McCarthy. I think Stephen McCarthy might just be a little bit surprised at that one. I don't think he would have expected Michael to be ahead of him. But as Leonardo goes in and Michael goes in as well, Stephen McCarthy goes straight past. That's the pits on your left hand side. The next car, that blue dot in front of him, that is in fact Herman Lazarus. Leonardo, Michael and Kyle has gone into the pit lane as well. So they decided they are going to make their stops, and remember they're now going to be closed down very, very fast by Willem Botha. Let's see how it plays out. Where's Willem Botha? Here's Willem Botha coming through now. That's the pits on his left hand side. Carl's in the pits. Michael North's in his pit. Leonardo Bakari is in the pits, and Willem's going to go straight past all of them. Where does that leave Peter van der Spey? Peter van der Spey is in that second position. He's lost a bit of ground to Willem Botha as Peter van der Spey. He's now 5 seconds off. But having said that, he finds himself ahead of Leonardo Bakari by a decent gap. In fact, that's at such high speed, that long distance that you see there at those speeds, that is in fact 3 seconds there. That little dot that you see behind him, that is Leonardo Bakari as Peter van der Spey works his way through the mountain pass. Let's have a look at those pit stops. We are 8 laps into a possible 14, 15 minutes into a possible 25 as we keep an eye on Peter van der Spey, the leading Grand Master. But it's on. Now it's on. Michael Stevens into the pits. Leon van Wyk is into the pits. Graham Stevens alongside him into the pits. I don't think they're having a chat. I think they're making sure they don't lose any time whatsoever. Timothy Stanton comes in there as well. Sandro Macquarie decides it's time for him to come in. What about Herman Lazarus? Herman Lazarus comes in as well. What about Stephen McCarthy? Stephen McCarthy comes in. That means that Willem Botha, the man that's been in and out of the pits, can he get through and out of the pits in time? It's not going to be, because there comes Michael Stephen out of the pits. There comes Leon van Wyk out of the pits. There comes Graham Stephen out of the pits. There comes Timothy Stanton out of the pits. Herman Lazarus will be the next man, probably. Herman Lazarus is in. Sandro Macquarie is on his way out already, as Herman Lazarus and Stephen McCarthy are still standing there. And the man that's going to be coming through is Peter van der Spy. Peter van der Spy coming through behind Sandro Macquarie. There is Sandro Macquarie, and there is Peter van der Spy. So Sandro, after the pit stops in the Grand Masters, Sandro Macquarie leads out from Peter van der Spy. Not too big a gap. Carl Lawrence is in there behind Leonardo Macquarie. Oh, he's fighting to try and get through before they go into the mountain pass. That's very, very tight to come through there. Carl Lawrence didn't want to get stuck behind Leonardo Macquarie. Obviously feels he's a smidgen quicker than Leonardo Macquarie, and didn't want to get tied up. And he now gets himself onto the back end of Stephen McCarthy. So Stephen McCarthy is going to definitely be in an okay position for now. It's whether Stephen McCarthy can hold out on Carl Lawrence once they get out into the high-speed straights. That's where the real action is going to be between the two of them. There you can see them as they work their way down the hill into the trees, so we won't be able to see anything much from that one. Graham Stephen not that far behind Leon van Wyk. They are already out into the straight on the start-finish line. Leon van Wyk closing up slowly onto the back end of Michael Stephen. Leon out into the straight, 4.4 behind Michael Stephen. Michael's putting up a very good pace for you to try and catch him.
Lucky took me out.
Yeah, last.
Into the mountain pass they go. Leon van Wyk. Graham Stephen right in there behind him. Nothing much between the two of them. See, Fujitsu Air Conditioning is one of the main sponsors around this Bathurst circuit. For those of you who arrived late, we in the HPD ARX _01C. It's quite a name for a motor car. It's a single-seater. It's classified as a sports vehicle, a sports and GT car. As Carl Lawrence has gotten onto the back end of a Stephen. Oh, there's a three-way battle. Oh, there's four cars that's involved with that, and I think Johan Engelbrecht was one of them. Let's see how this one starts to play itself out. Johan Engelbrecht tries to go up on that inside line, gets a touch on the nose. That turns him around, and he tries to get completely out of the way with that one. The other man that was involved there was, I think, Sergio. Let's just see what happens with Sergio. Yeah, he went off the circuit initially, came straight back on. Did Sergio, and then he whacked it up against the wall, tried to keep it up against the wall as well. And then the other man that was involved there was in fact Herman Lazarus. Oh, Herman just went straight into the back of him, and that then brought Leonardo Macquarie into play there as well. And this is what the guys were worried about, that in the mountain pass you were going to have that kind of scenario. Is what it is. That is the nature of the circuit. Michael Stephen from Leon van Wyk, from Graham Stephen, Timothy Stanton, then quite a gap back to Willem Botha. is heading towards that section that you saw the guys on previously. Not that far behind him, the leading Grandmaster, that is Sandra Bakari. And then behind that we've got Peter van der Spey. The gap between Peter van der Spey and the man that he actually needs to beat is around about 5 seconds. Oh, we've got a spinner there on the mountain. Oh, that's Sandra Bakari. Is that Sandra Bakari? Well, we just said he's ahead of Peter van der Spey. Sandra Bakari just climbs over the curbstone, turns it right around, does a neat job of parking it up against the wall, and you can see head on as Peter van der Spey comes past. Now he's got to try and get a 3-point turn, and realizes that Carl Lawrence and the boys are coming through, and that just costs him so badly. Now he's got to try and turn that car around without affecting anybody else. Some seriously quick gear changes there, and he manages to get it going again, but that has dropped Sandra Bakari down a massively long way. That changes the whole shape of the Grandmasters side of things. 21 minutes 11 seconds into 25 minutes of racing, and that man Peter van der Spey now leads out from Leonardo Bakari and Sandra Bakari. Sandra has just gone past. Oh, there's another incident that's just happened. Let's see if we can try and pick up that one. There was Sandra Bakari that was involved in yet another one. Sandra Bakari comes around the corner. All looks quite good. And there is somebody that has gone off in front of him. And in fact, that was Leonardo Bakari, his brother, that was just ahead of him. I think that's where the incident actually started. Let's check Leonardo. Leonardo gets a little bit out of shape, gets the tail end coming around, and enter Leonardo. And there was another car that was involved with that one. I do believe that was probably Johan Engelbrecht that was involved with that one as well. All looks fine. Johan Engelbrecht goes around the corner, and by the time he can see it, it's too late. It's all happened in front of him. So with 22 minutes and 22 seconds gone, excuse the pun, it's all about this man, Michael Steven, once again ahead of Leon van Wyk, ahead of Graham Steven. Then it is Timothy Stanton. Quite a long way behind that. We'll pick up Willem Botha. He's still busy on his way through the mountain. Everybody has had their one stop already. Willem Botha 22 seconds further back, but he's got space behind him because the next man is in fact Peter van der Spey, who would have seen he wouldn't have seen the incident of Sandra Bakari, but he arrived after the incident had happened, and he then actually saw what happened there. So Peter van der Spey, and he's got 5 seconds on Stephen McCarthy. Stephen McCarthy, the cannon car behind him, that is Carl Lawrence. And then the new kid on the block, Michael North, is trying to stay out of the troubles and done a pretty good job of it as well, as they work their way through that high-speed section, going right down through the gearbox, slowing it all down. Michael North just 2.4 off Carl Lawrence, but to catch Carl Lawrence is not going to be easy. A man that's doing some catching is in fact Graham Steven, as they work their way through the tighter sections of Bathurst, the part they refer to as through the mountain pass. Graham Steven on Leon van Wyk. In front of that, you can't go much harder than that. Leon van Wyk stretching the legs there of a Graham Steven. Out into the straight they go. Leon van Wyk being closed down hard from behind by Graham Steven. Not that much more time to go. You think you can hold him out?
I hope so. I hope so. It's 0.7, 0.6 right now. Don't make any mistakes. Hopefully I can hold it.
Very, very tight as they go into the last lap of their race. Leon van Wyk in front of us. Graham Steven, the man that we're riding on board with. And Graham Steven is pushing so hard. The man in front you see there is in fact Michael Steven. The white flag comes out. Let's see if we can pick up the flag man as we go up the start finish straight. There's the flagman on your right-hand side. He's waving that white flag. So last gasp effort. This is the tightest battle. Oh, getting the tail end. Wants to get away there from Graham Stephen. He's now very, very close. Is Graham Stephen onto the back of Leon van Wyk. We're going to stick with this battle between Graham Stephen and Leon van Wyk as they go into their last lap. Riding on board with Graham Stephen into the mountain pass they go. It's just a matter of time now before this all comes to an end. Are they going to have a passing maneuver between the two of them? Graham Stephen, he's got the Being IT entry in there in front of him. 14 entries in total. Peter van der Spey leading out from Leonardo and Sandro Bakari in the Grandmasters. Michael Stephen from Leon van Wyk and Graham Stephen. It's just about there. It's just about where he needs to be for Leon van Wyk. He's got to get through this mountain pass and then hope that there is enough air between himself and Graham Stephen, because Graham Stephen's going to go on the run. There's no doubt about it as we go out into the straight. And Graham Stephen's all over the back end of Leon van Wyk as we ride on board with Graham Stephen. Is he going to go for that passing? Oh, in the middle of the circuit, they get themselves side by side. We're going to have a look from upstairs at that one. Look at that as they come over the rise. There's nothing much in it. And this is for second and third position. What an amazing dice as they come up towards the line. And in fact, it's going to be Graham Stephen that's going to win out on that one. But it's going to be Michael Stephen that's going to win out on the race as a whole. And here comes Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen takes the checkered flag. Graham Stephen will take that second position ahead of Leon van Wyk. The next man coming through will in fact be Timothy Stanton, the next man to come across the line. There's Timothy Stanton. And then the next one will be Willem Botha. He's 19 seconds back is Willem Botha. As he works his way through, I see somebody going into the pit lane. I don't know, that's Sergio Maffia that's going into the pit lane. That's Willem Botha that goes across the line. The next man through will in fact be Peter van der Spey as he comes into the last corner. Peter van der Spey will come across the line and he will win out in that section. Stephen McCarthy directly behind him. Our new man Michael North comes across the line. And then we've got Carl Lawrence. He tried very hard with a Canon car. Did Carl Lawrence. Leonardo Bakari fighting it out till the end with Sandro Bakari. Two brothers directly behind one another. Leonardo and Sandro Bakari. Nothing much in it between the two of them as they come through. And Leonardo is going to beat out on Sandro. Leonardo Bakari beats Sandro Bakari across the line. Well, that is going to do great damage to Sandro Bakari because, that is exactly what he did not need at that stage of the fight, is to be beaten out by his brother as well. We're going to go into a 3-minute warm-up before we go into race number 2. Let's see if we can have a look at those results from heat number 1. As soon as the computer makes it available to us, there is in fact the results of heat number 1. Massive struggle we had there between the likes of Leon van Wyk going 1-on-1 with Graham Stephen. Michael just ahead of that. Leon, that was very, very tight. I know you said it was very tight through the mountains as well. But Graham Stephen getting alongside you going down the straight, and you had to back out going into that last corner. That must have hurt because you were definitely within a very good chance of a second position. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hear from Leon van Wyk. He's muted his microphone. Peter van der Spey? Peter, can you hear us?
I can indeed.
What a amazing sight when you came around the second corner, and there Leonardo, and Sandro is standing up against the wall facing you. That was where you made your way to the front end of the Grand Masters from there until the end of the race.
Yeah, the problem is I've got him now on pole. So going to try and catch him, but I was very surprised I actually made it.
I don't know if you're aware, but Leonardo actually beat out on Sandro as well. So your biggest competition, Sandro Bakari, finding himself third in class, bumper to bumper behind Leonardo, and then you winning that one. So yeah, when it all turns around now on the invert, Peter, with this result, you should be very close to Sandro Bakari overall on points at the moment now, going into the second race of round number 2.
Yeah, look, it's always a toss-up between him and I. I mean, he wins one, I win one, he wins one. You know, it's, and I'm really, it's so nice, you know, to have somebody. Incidentally, Johan Engelbrecht is also a master. I saw in the previous races he wasn't marked as a master.
Yeah, that's something that we're going to get sorted out there as well. He is actually a grandmaster. Leon, it was so close right at the end there, but yeah, that slipstream was just a little bit too much, and you had to yield that second position.
Yeah, so many laps I held it, but it was that last turn just before the back straight. I understeered a bit last time, and that was enough for Graham to actually catch.
So, yeah, it was very close. But then again, to be beat by Michael and or Graham Stephen, sure, there's very few that can beat the two of them. Leon van Wyk from Timothy Stanton, Willem Botha. Peter van der Spey beating out there on Leonardo Bakari, 6th in the race, 10th and 11th for Leonardo and Sandro. So that's a big knock for the hopes there for Sandro. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with you with race number 2. So there we go. There is the grid for race number 2. Herman Lazarus with Sandro Bakari. Oh man, that is going to be something else. The two of them on the front row of the grid. Leonardo Bakari from Carl Lawrence, Michael North from Stephen McCarthy, Peter van der Spey, Willem Botha alongside one another, Timothy Stanton and Leon with Graham and Michael coming off almost the back end of the pack with Johan Engelbrecht and Sergio in there behind that. So the first of the, shall we say, the big hitters there, probably, I think even the likes of Stephen McCarthy in a very, very strong position. Stephen McCarthy, good evening to you, standing on a lovely 6th position there, but you've got a whole bunch of big hitters behind you. What's the chances of holding them out?
We're going to do our best, Gary. Got taken out in turn 1 in the first heat, so hopefully it won't happen in the second one. But yeah, there's some fast guys behind, so we're going to see what we can do.
So off the line's going to have to be very quick to make sure you get a clean run through the mountain. Well, let's leave the guys to what they do as they work their way around going through the Emerald Bridge, and it'll be good to go directly after this. The pace car is there. Race number 2, Bathurst. Herman, there just gets the hammer down. He's not going to wait for anybody or anything. It's Sandro Bakari on that outside line. Carl Lawrence is trying to have a look. Oh, Carl Lawrence gets put onto the grass, and contact there with Leonardo and Carl Lawrence, and that's going to drop Leonardo Bakari a long way down. Sandro Bakari leads out from Herman Lazarus. They pretty much side by side. Then it's Michael North, the new guy, Kyle Lawrence, Stephen McCarthy, Willem Botha, Peter van der Spey in the green car. He's got a bit of space in front of him. Everybody trying to make a move before you get into the mountain, that you don't get tied down. Carl Lawrence did exactly what he needed to do. Carl Lawrence got ahead of Michael North and Stephen McCarthy. Oh, that was Herman Lazarus that went wide. Herman Lazarus will drop down to Sandro Bakari. Sandro Bakari leads out from Herman Lazarus. Then the next man coming through there is going to be Carl Lawrence. There's Carl Lawrence behind him. Stephen McCarthy from Willem Botha. Oh, Peter van der Spey has been involved with an incident. Let's see what happened there to Peter van der Spey. It's a little nibble on the back bumper. That was all good. He's got the Marlboro car that's in there behind him. Oh, and that is just, oh, massive, massive damage on that motor car. Peter van der Spey that went straight back into the pits. Johan Engelbrecht, the man that was involved in that one as well. I think he blindly went once again driving into an incident. He had nowhere to go. And that's exact what Stephen McCarthy spoke about before the race actually started, that the trouble is going to happen when they're all very close to one another. Sandro Bakari leads out from Herman Lazarus, from Carl Lawrence, from Stephen McCarthy. Oops, in there behind Stephen McCarthy's Willem Botha that's used the whole track and diving into the pit lane. Timothy Stanton says, get out of the queue, get out of the hustle and bustle, get into the pits, make it happen. Willem Botha up on the inside. And it is Stephen. Oh, there goes Carl Lawrence has gone off. Carl Lawrence slid off on the exit of turn number 1. And he turned it right around, faced it in the opposite direction. There you can see just too much curbstone, too much on the gas, locks it up, nibbles the wall, turns it around. Luckily it's on the grass, a much easier turnaround than what Sandro Bakari had earlier on, and he gets himself going once again. Into the pits is Peter van der Spey after that incident. He is still in the pits at the moment. Now he needs to get out there as quick as what he possibly can. He's been in for quite a long time. Let's hope that's not going to count him out, because the man that leads out right now is in fact his biggest opposition, which is Sandro Bakari. Sandro Bakari, and right in there behind him there is Herman Lazarus. Not far behind them is in fact Willem Botha. Do not ever count out Stephen McCarthy from Michael Stephen, from Leon van Wyk. Let's go on board with Leon van Wyk and see how that one plays itself out. Leon van Wyk finds himself in a 6th position as he works his way along that, I think they call it Conrad Straight if I remember correctly. Having a dive, there's Michael Stephen on Stephen McCarthy. Stephen McCarthy on the left-hand side, Michael Stephen on the right-hand side. Michael Stephen does make that one count. Leon, brilliant under braking. Leon closed right up onto the back end. Oh, too much curbstone. Leon van Wyk in the being IT entry, pushing it so hard. Everything that he made up under that amazing braking maneuver. He made up like 4 or 5 positions. Willem Botha, man on the move. Willem Botha in that 3rd position. And he's, because of the fact that he's got open ground in front of him, he's now also become the fastest man out there, driving on board of Willem Botha. In there behind Herman Lazarus as they work their way into the tightest sections of the circuit, and before they go into the mountain, Willem Botha gets past Herman Lazarus and gets himself up into that 2nd position. Now the car that just went out of view there is Sandro Bakari, which is not really of that man. Is not really of any interest to Willem Botha, apart from it's a boy thing. You want to win the race overall, irrespective of whatever class the person is in. But Willem Botha up into that 2nd position, getting a bit of ground now between himself and Herman Lazarus. But Herman Lazarus has got a problem, and that problem is called Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen and Graham Stephen coming up in the top 2 positions in the previous race. So Herman Lazarus will be very aware that that man's going to close down on him as quick as what he possibly can. Going through the last section of the mountain. But getting it out onto the straight. Now, how big is that slipstream effect? Will we be able to see it coming into play between Herman Lazarus and Michael Stephen? Not really. Michael Stephen's closed very little. It's not even a 1/10 of a second. So a half a second appears to be too far back on this specific circuit to be able to pick up any kind of additional tow. As we have a look at Michael North, he had an incident. That's Carl Lawrence that's directly in there behind him. Everybody takes that corner pretty well. He just went in just a little bit too hard. Carl Lawrence says thank you very much. And he brings with him Johan Engelbrecht as well. And that was how Michael North dropped down 1 position. Johan Engelbrecht has in fact decided he's going to go into the pits while Sandro Bakari still leads out. There's Sandro Bakari, Herman Lazarus, and Michael Stephen. That's a very important position for Herman Lazarus to be in now, because Herman Lazarus can hold out through the mountain pass on Michael Stephen. I don't think Michael will take a chance Oopsie, Herman Lazarus up against the wall, tried just a little bit too hard. That takes Michael Stephen up into second position. Willem Botha now smells blood as well. Willem Botha onto the back of Herman Lazarus. He is prepared. Oh, he wanted to have a look there and just got closed off by Herman Lazarus past the Repco and Dick Smith sign writing as they work their way down towards that right-hander. Now the left-hander. Herman Lazarus cutting the circuit as tight as what he can. This is where you go right down to that second gear. Now they're racked, packed and stacked. Herman Lazarus has got Willem Botha, Leon van Wyk and Graham Stephen in there behind him. Let's go on board with Graham Stephen and see what it looks like to sit in that high-speed queue. Now, will the multiplying effect of 4 cars together give Graham Stephen the extra speed that he needs? It looks like it because he's on just about the maximum RPM. He's run it up to 9,700 RPM in 6th gear, which means that there definitely was assistance that he got there from that slipstream. Herman Lazarus is going to drop down another position. He can't hold out of Leon van Wyk and Graham Stevens. Somebody's just gone into the pits. In fact, that is Willem Botha that's gone into the pits as we ride with Graham Stephen. Willem Botha into the pit lane. It looks like Peter van der Spey. Has he come back out on circuit? Yes, he has, Peter van der Spey. He's dropped down 7 positions in total. But let's go back to the man that's leading out, Sandro Bakari, doing it all right. He started in second, got himself into first position. Even the likes of Michael Stephen have not been able to get past him yet. But remember, Michael Stephen has made up 10 positions. He's got Leon van Wyk, Graham Stephen, and the man they just passed, Herman Lazarus, and then Stephen McCarthy. Now, is Stephen McCarthy quick enough to go and fetch Herman Lazarus? A 155, 194, a 157.3. But in Herman's defense, Herman was passed by 3 cars on that last lap, and obviously them being title contenders, let's use that phrase for the purposes of this exercise, he slowed himself down a bit to not mess up their fight at all. And so that's not really a realistic look at the difference between the pace of Herman Lazarus and Stephen McCarthy. We'll have to wait until they complete another lap as Graham Stephen closes up on Leon van Wyk. We ride on board with Willem Botha on the back end there of Timothy Stanton, but Graham Stevens getting closer. Graham Stevens getting very, very close onto the back end of Leon van Wyk. Leon's got to close that line off. I think he's confident enough to be on the inside now of the left-hander. Yep, Leon van Wyk knows exactly how to put that car right where he needed it. If he had closed off the right-hand line, it would have been a case of Graham Stephen going to the inside of the left-hander, which was the slower of the 2 corners. So a lovely piece of driving there. Thinking it out was Leon van Wyk. In there behind him, the man they've just passed is Herman Lazarus. There comes a Stephen McCarthy. Willem Botha is closing up on the back end of Timothy Stanton. It's getting pretty tight for these guys. Into the pit lane comes Michael North, who has been in and out of the pit so far. The lead man is in fact Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton, let's see, where is Timothy right now? There's Timothy Stanton. So he goes past Michael that is in the pits. And off he goes into the future. But it's all about Willem Botha. Riding on board with Willem Botha in behind Timothy Stanton. Gets up alongside. Will it be a clean pass? Yep, he's made it far enough through. And he moves up that position. There you can see Willem Botha. It's just gone ahead of Timothy Stanton. So Timothy giving it a good tonk. Not an easy circuit, this one. You've got to be millimeter perfect. We're 10 minutes 49, 6 laps out of a possible 14 into the 25 laps. Race number 2 in the HPD ARX underscore 01C vehicle. This is at Bathurst. It's season number 12. Race number 2, heat number 2 on the day. And it's time to have a look at Sandro Bakari. Sandro Bakari has been passed by Michael Stephen. I'd actually like to see exactly how that one played itself out, how Michael Stephen got past Sandro Bakari where that was. That was coming down the straight. Going towards turn number 2. No, that is on, I think it's called Conrad Straight. It's such a long straight. You tend to blow motors there. So it was on the straight. Closed up nice and neatly. Either way, Sandro Bakari is doing an amazing job. He's got Leon van Wyk behind him, who's got Graham Stephen, who's got Herman Lazarus, who's got Stephen McCarthy, who's got Carl Lawrence. Then only do we see Leonardo Bakari. And looking at who has been in and out of the pits, that means that Sandro is way ahead at this stage of the fight. Peter 52 seconds behind Michael North. So I'm pretty sure if Sandro Bakari goes in, it's going to be a case of coming out ahead of Peter van der Spey. Remember, Peter van der Spey for today has got a win. Leonardo's got a second. Sandro's got a third. So if Sandro can win out this one with Leonardo in second place, if Leonardo can hold out on Peter van der Spey, that means that they will all score the exact same number of points in the Grandmasters. Sandro Bakari, Leonardo, and Peter van der Spey, as we keep an eye on Graham Stephen, that is closing down, well, trying to close down. Let's not worry about the stops. Let's have a look. They were pretty much in open air. Leon van Wyk, a 52, virtually a 52 flat, and 23 thousandths of a second between the two of them. Into the pits goes Leon van Wyk. I think Leon van Wyk's probably thinking that Graham Stephen on the long straight would pick up the toe and be able to get past him because of the toe. So rather than give him the toe, go for the undercut, get into the pits. There you can see Michael Stephen and Leon van Wyk. The two of them are into the pits. The real deal now is when they come out of the pits, how is that going to play out as opposed to Willem Botha? Well, there's the first man going to make his way out, and that is Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen is going to be the lead man that has been in and out of the pits. The man behind him, Leon van Wyk, has also been in and out of the pits. He's having a dice there with Leonardo Bakari, who has not been into the pits yet. So Leon van Wyk will be desperate to make sure that he makes a gap through there, because he's got Willem Botha all over his back bumper. Now that is in fact the fight post pit stop for second and third that you see there. Willem Botha on the back end of Leon van Wyk. That smacks up against the wall. That's not even a smidgen or a rub or a tip or a light rub. That was a whack up against the wall. But it was nice and even, so it didn't throw the car off kilter at all, as Willem Botha on the back end there of Leon van Wyk. Willem closing up as best he possibly can. Let's see if we can have a check. Oh, that's Carl Lawrence that's just come off the wall. And as they get it out into the straight, Willem, I tend to think about 0.4 of a second would be at the minimum that you have to be onto the car in front of you to pick up a bit of a slipstream.
Yeah, it's 1.4, but you get quite a bit of honesty as well through the corners when you're very close to competition. You've got to get the drive out the corner mostly and see, but yeah, it's nerve-wracking this.
Oh, that's the voice there of the man that we're riding on board with, Willem Botha. And as he says, you've got to be within about 0.4 of a second to be able to pick up any kind of assistance from the car in front of you. Just about everybody except for Carl Lawrence has gone into the pits, as has Leonardo Bakari as well. So we can take that information as well. It's Herman Lazarus. I think Herman Lazarus is in fact on the way out of the pits. Yep, Herman Lazarus has in fact come out of the pits, and Carl Lawrence is still in the pits. Leonardo Bakari is in the pits. Graham Stephen is there in the pits as well. So that means that Sandro Bakari in and out of the pits looking very good at this stage of the fight. Sandro Bakari in there behind Timothy Stanton. Peter van der Spey finds himself a long way further back. Not going to be able to do too much from there. Stephen McCarthy closing up on the back end of Hammer. The Hammer's had a lot of traffic behind him in this one. For all through the mountain sections, he looks quite fine in the high-speed sections, but definitely in the mountain section, it hasn't been too happy a place for Herman Lazarus, but we did expect there would be a good couple of people that were going to battle with that one. Herman Lazarus in there 10 seconds behind Sandro Bakari, but not that far behind him is Stephen McCarthy as Herman Lazarus works his way down the straight. Herman, you think you're going to have the pace to be able to hold out on Stephen McCarthy?
I hope so. I sincerely hope so. He's definitely competition for me, but I'm going to do my best.
Well, there we go. The sound of Herman Lazarus that's giving us the information there as to trying to hold out on Stephen McCarthy. Stephen McCarthy's not far behind him whatsoever. And Stephen is putting the... Let him just get through the corner there as they go back out into the straight. Stephen closing down on Herman Lazarus. It's been said by Willem, you've got to be within about 0.4 to pick up any kind of assistance. Do you think you'll be able to, at 0.7, be able to get any kind of help in behind Herman before you go up into the mountain?
Yeah, I don't want to follow too closely through the mountain because you lose a bit of front end.
Well, let's not talk to the guys while they're in the mountain section. Let's wait until they come out of that mountain section. But as Willem Botha said, you lose a lot of downforce on the front end of the motor car when you are running too close. And, well, I think that you're going to find that Stephen McCarthy, we'll have a chat with him once he gets out into the straight. Let's just give him a chance to get into... a little bit more easier area to chat, and then we'll go back to Stephen McCarthy as he is pretty close to Herman Lazarus. Stephen, as you work your way out now into the straight, you say you lose a whole bunch of downforce going through the tighter section. Does that prevent you from being inside of 0.4 when you come out into that long straight?
I just find I tend to get a bit understeery if I'm too close.
Well, there you go. Confirmation from Stephen McCarthy on exactly what was said earlier on by Willem Botha. You lose that front end grip pretty badly when you get too close. But the man that's doing the fastest laps out there once again is Michael Steven. He's doing an amazing job. He's ahead of the likes of highly acclaimed Leon van Wyk, Willem Botha, Timothy Stanton in the top 5 once again. Sandro Bakari doing what he does best, get the hammer down. Now that corner right there, that was where he had that incident that handed that first place to Peter van der Spey. It was, oh! How's that for a lucky cameraman being on the right car at the right time, getting into a full four-wheel drift there, Sandro Bakari. But Sandro doesn't really have to push that hard because he's got a big gap back to Leonardo and Peter van der Spey. So he's in fact racing the circuit. He's racing for fun. He's racing to hold out the 7-second gap back to Herman Lazarus. That's the next man in there behind him. 20.5 minutes that have been done already. Michael Steven from Leon van Wyk from Willem Botha. Graham Stevens trying to recover something from the back end of the pack. And Graham Steven actually had a bit of an off. He was alongside Carl Lawrence. Oh, he actually just gave lots of space to Carl Lawrence to make sure that they didn't make any kind of contact. And that was where Graham Steven lost out on quite a bit of time. I don't see any other major incidents for Graham Steven. Carl Lawrence did in fact have a bit of an incident earlier on. There is Carl Lawrence. Climbs on the brakes and gears down at the same time. That doesn't work when you go through that undulation. And whoa, he got going, but whew, that was very, very tight. Our new man Sergio Mafia had a bit of an incident earlier on as well. That looks like turn number 2. The left-hander turn number 3. Blind rise. Just got it turned around. Just went in there a little bit too loud, a little bit too quick. As we go back to Graham Stephen on the back end of Carl Lawrence. That is for 10th and 11th position. Graham Stephen trying to work his way into that top 10. It's a long way down for Graham Stephen. Not a good result for him at all in terms of the championship for Graham Stephen. But you win some, you lose some. You have some good ones, you have some bad ones. That is the way it is. 2.5 minutes to go. Graham Stephen trying to make up some sort of semblance. Sandra Bakari with a third and a possible first. Leonardo with a second and probably another second, because Peter van der Spey is behind him by 35 seconds. Look at this tussle. This is amazing. This man doesn't want to wait until they get out of the mountain. He wants to have a go right now at Carl Lawrence, and he's all over the back of Carl Lawrence. So somehow Carl up against the wall is going to try and go around the outside. Make sure that there is no further contact between them. And Carl Lawrence was trying he made it look like he was trying to go for the passing maneuver. Forced Carl to go just a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker. Eventually Carl made the error, and that's what made it possible for Graham Stephen to get past Carl Lawrence. Although it's 0.3, it is closing up. There you can see from 0.4 you do pick up a bit of a slipstream, but it's not going to be enough to get that position back. Carl Lawrence on the back end of Graham Stephen. Probably Michael Stephen next time he comes around. Well, we're on 23 minutes 47 seconds. So looking how far Michael Stephen is right now around the circuit, it's not impossible that next time around might in fact be for the checkered flag. No. Yes, it might. It might actually be. So let's have a shofty at the man that leads out at the front, Michael Stephen. This might just be the last time he goes through the mountain. The way the timings are running at the moment is very marginal to see how it's going to play itself out. But I think it's going to be on the 25-minute mark when he comes back towards the start-finish line, as we are on, well, he's still got a half a minute. He's got a bit of time. He could actually even slow down a little bit, just a little, to make sure he doesn't have to take any chances with yet another lap. As he works his way through, Michael Stephen coming up towards the line. Will this be for the last time, or will it be for the white flag? It's going to be within milliseconds of one another. 6 seconds to go. Will it be the white or will it be the checker? It's going to be for the white flag. Literally with about a second and a half. He's going to have to do one more lap. Michael Stephen leads out. There is Leon van Wyk directly behind him. The next of the big hitters is Willem Botha. A lovely drive once again from Timothy Stanton. Sandra Bakari will be the next man that will come into that specific camera shot. There's Sandra Bakari, the leading Grand Master. He's got a 6-second gap on Herman Lazarus, who comes out of turn number 1. Stephen McCarthy, you see coming through there behind him. Michael North has actually gone into the pits. Maybe he's got too many penalty points against him, Michael North. Let's just have a look at off tracks. No, not sure why Michael North has actually gone into the pits. It doesn't seem to be for any other specific reason. Stephen McCarthy, 18 seconds ahead of Graham Stephen, so it's not a problem for him. Michael North into the pits. It's coming slowly into the pits. Is that going to be a stop-go? Either way, if he does get going... Oh, He must have run out of fuel or something similar, but he's actually doing a full-on pit stop right there. And Sergio coming into the pit lane as well. So Peter van der Spy might pick up that one more position. No, it's off the jacks it comes, and off it goes. So maybe, just maybe, that was a the reason for that was because of the fact that he had run out of fuel. As we watch Michael Steven with a 3-second gap on Leon van Wyk as he goes through the last corner. Good to go for a win. Checkered flag. He'll be loving that one. Leon van Wyk from Willem Botha, from Timothy Stanton. Next man to come through will be Sandro Bakari. Well done, Sandro Bakari. Master driver, apart from that one error that he made that took him from a first down to a third. Beating out on the likes of the highly acclaimed Herman Lazarus. Stephen McCarthy in the background. Then it's a long, long way back from there to Graham Stephen. I'm not sure where it went wrong for Graham Stephen, but it cost him in the Marlboro car a whole bunch of places, down to 8th from a top 2 in race number 1. Johan Engelbrecht not that far behind him. He arrived at the wrong places at the wrong times and ended up getting involved in other people's incidents. Carl Lawrence just ahead of Leonardo Bakari. So that means that the next man that's going to come through is in fact going to be Peter van der Spy. A first and a third for Peter van der Spy. A third and a first for Sandro Bakari. And a second for Leonardo. So they all score exactly the same points. So to my mind, that means that Sandro Bakari should lead out the Grand Masters then from Peter van der Spy, as Michael North comes across the line, and that will bring that to an end. Wow, that was something else. I think that was actually really brilliant. Now let's have a look. Remember heat number 1? Michael and Graham from Leon, Timothy and Willem. That was heat number 1. Let's have a look at the second race result hasn't actually come up yet. Let's have a look at the Masters, the Grand Masters overall. Peter van der Spy there from Leonardo Bakari, from Sandro Bakari. That was in heat number 1. Having a look at the Masters, was Michael, Graham, Leon, Timothy and Willem. For some other reason, the computer has not given us the results of race number 2. It only wants to give us race number 1 at the moment. Let's see if we can... Somebody hasn't clicked out. Oh, Sergio Mafia is still running on the circuit, and that is why we've not been able to get that result. Now we can actually pick up that feature race result because Sergio has moved off the circuit. Michael Steven. So Michael Steven coming up top 2 in both races. Willem Botha having a good run. Leon and Timothy. So it was only in real terms Graham Steven that lost out in that top 5. The top 5 being literally Graham Steven, Michael Steven, Leon van Wyk, Willem Botha and Timothy Stanton. Just outside of that, nothing much between Herman Lazarus and Stephen McCarthy. And Johan Engelbrecht, that was a little bit unlucky. Carl Lawrence, 1 or 2 little errors here and there. Leonardo Bakari coming up with 2 seconds, beating Sandro once and beating Peter once. That was fantastic. And Sergio bringing up the tail end of the field there overall. So let's... Unfortunately, the computer will not give us the overall results for the day. That's a bit of a pity. Really nice to have seen those overall results for everybody. So that is it. Season number 12. It's heat number 2, meeting number 2. That was heat number 2 of Bathurst in the HPD ARX_01C. Strange name for a motor car. That's what it was. That's where it is. Where we're going to be next week, I've got no idea. So join us next week at 9:15, Wednesday night, exactly 1 week from now, when we go season 3, round number 3, and let's have a look, see exactly how that one is going to play itself out as to where the guys are going to end up. Let's see if we can have a quick chat with the likes of Michael Steven. Michael Steven, good evening to you. We're live on Second Gear Productions. A lovely drive there in both of those races. Was it what you hoped and expected?
Yeah, well, you always hope for a win, but you never really expect it. Went well, so can't complain. You know, 2 first places. Big thanks to Leon for helping me with my settings on my computer. Without that, wouldn't have been possible.
So that Leon guy you're referring to, is he the guy that was actually trying to chase you with those new settings?
The one who's regretting helping him, that one.
Yeah, that guy. So that's what it's about, you know.
Michael, great drive there, 2 wins. Leon, brilliant on the push there. Willem Botha right in behind them. Lovely to see Timothy Stanton, that is also there and thereabouts. Timothy, it was a pretty hard run between you and Stephen. Nothing much pace-wise between you and Stephen McCarthy in heat number 2.
Yeah, I think that you've got to keep consistency with the mountain, and I think the guys, the top 3, that's what they did. That's why they kept on pulling on us. Well done to Michael again. Consistent 151s.
Stephen, as you said, going into race number 1, starting a long way back, you expected the first lap through the mountain pass to be a problem. That it was. Was it a whole bunch easier for you in the second race, starting a lot further forward and expecting less problems going through that first time through the mountain?
Yeah, it was the second heat was better. I think we had one spinner on the way up, but that was all. And after that, the faster guys just started coming through, but that's normal. So yeah, the second heat was good fun.
Excellent. Folks, we're going to close it off there. Thanks very much for joining us. Gary Gaza Fleming from Second Gear Productions, bringing you the Bathurst Season 12 round number 2 of the season, and we'll be back with you, as we said, same time next week, Wednesday. Cheers, everybody.